Welcome to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders, owners, and professionals are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Hear from industry experts on everything from marketing, leadership, financing, and more. Brought to you by Haven, a co-working space where you can connect, create, and get stuff done.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Haven Hubcast. I am your host, Nancy Sheed, and today we are going to be talking about conscious parenting with Andrea Anderson. Welcome, Andrea.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. It's great to be here. I appreciate it.
We're going to dive in, and I just I went straight in, but you're an expert in many fields. I want to give you props to where props are, due. You call yourself a family manager, a coach, a conscious parenting consultant, and an author. And it sounds like for parents with kids and teens whose brains are wired differently. That is a lot to unpack in this day and age of parenting. But before we even go into that, can we take a step back and say, what informed your journey here? Did you, when you were 11, say, I want to grow up and help parents? Or can you take us back a little bit about your journey to get to where you are now?
Yeah. That's an interesting question, though, because nobody's asked me when I was young what it was that did I actually focus on this and want this? No, never, not in a million years. I came into this through personal experience. It was a situation where I was given the gift, and it didn't feel like a gift, but I was given the gift of two boys who had a variety of neurodiversities. So my sons now are 20 and 23. But when they were younger, for many years, for a good chunk of their upbringing, I spent my time looking to see in what ways I could support them better to help them step further into their potential, whatever that would look like. But there was also something within me that really, really wanted to help them to clear and to improve hugely, if not all the way. Nobody around me told me that was possible. I just wanted it. So I was determined to just keep going to see how much I could help them really tap into their potential. So it became a journey of what can I do? What can I do in terms of basically looking at their food? Like food was coming up for me. Like, what can I do? What can I feed them? How can I help them so that whatever is going into them can help them to be their best? That eventually, after a few years, led to me going back to holistic nutrition school for 3 years to really immerse myself in the connection between food and mood, food and behaviors, as well as how food helps our health overall. And so so that was part of the journey. And then the other parts of that journey were bringing them to holistic doctors, learning about different therapies, learning about conscious parenting. Every time I was yelling at my kids, my heart would hurt. I felt like there was another way to do it, and I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know why. And I questioned myself, and I always came back to shame and blame toward myself, which was never helpful. So that was a part of the journey. It was helping them. It was supporting them in these different ways, physiologically and emotionally. But then I realized I need to start to support myself emotionally. I need to figure out where I'm getting stuck so that I can show up differently to be my best and parent differently. And there were so many different pieces that came together on this journey that it ended up every time I explored and learned something new, I'd apply it. I'd see what worked, what didn't. And then it ended up that I started a coaching practice, and it wasn't doing this. It was just coaching. Once I went to holistic nutrition school, it became a lot about nutrition, right? And so I was helping people. I was mainly helping women lose weight and helping them with their gut issues because I learned that my boys had a lot of gut stuff going on. And by helping that gut stuff, so to speak, in layman's terms, I was helping them emotionally. So I was making a different connection I had never knew about before. So I started there with people, and eventually it morphed into my journey with my sons, like the idea of the pieces that worked the best and brought the best results to help them to move forward and really step further into their potential, so to speak, like be more of who I felt like they really were underneath some of those symptoms that were showing up, some of the behaviors, some of the emotional stuff, the anxiety, those things actually started to decrease. So what I learned and what I gathered from that, I started to help other moms and families with themselves. And that is basically what I do today. I help parents who have kids whose brains are wired differently from a health and emotional standpoint start to connect more deeply so that there's more peace and calm in their home, in their relationships, they can connect better. And then ultimately, they're starting to set their kids up to thrive because they have a different relationship with them. They're relating to them differently. And honestly, it's each of the pieces that come together to create that.
I'm taking a deep breath. I'm so glad you said the word thrive, because when you were talking earlier, I was like, okay, setting up for success sounds so businessy, but I just remember I think that focusing on thriving versus a defined perception of what success looks like for our children feels so much better, right?
Yep.
Like if your child is thriving, forget those benchmarks of success that I think sometimes we all hold ourselves not fairly up to. I just want to tease out some of the things, you said I've got kids similar ages. So I love that we now use the word neurodiversity versus back in the day. We used to say, what did we say? We said learning challenges, or we'd say
special needs
and everything else. So the neurodiversity, I love that because it just sort of is a much more wonderful, inclusive umbrella. I interviewed somebody earlier talking about just entrepreneurs and she said, we're neurozesty. I'm like, oh, I love that. Like it's almost a wonder power in its own way. And it sounds like you're helping people get rid of their kryptonite, right? And seize upon the superpowers that they have in this kind of differently wired brains. Andrea, so from your personal experience, it sounds like you then kind of have layered in testing your ideas. It sounds like you have, is it a process? Is it a thing? I mean, you don't do diagnosis. You kind of hear what's going on, hear what parents are looking for. What does that look like? Or what are the common things that families come to you with? And is there a certain age or stage when this work is either more effective or less effective?
Well, I'll tell you, it's effective across the board at any age if you have kids who are willing to make the shifts with you. So honestly, when your kids are younger, I found it's a lot easier to work with parents when their kids are younger to change the food piece. If you have teenagers who are locked into certain types of foods, you can still make shifts. You can still connect more deeply, but you'll get even further if there's room for movement with them and they're willing to also shift some of the things that they're eating. So I also support people with conscious parenting has to do with mindset strategies. It has to do with learning to regulate your nervous system. So those things we go into and I can help them with, even if we don't do the food. So there's always ways to settle ourselves and help them learn to settle themselves. But often I've worked with just mom and she's made changes that impact the whole family, even without directly trying to change anything with the spouse or the kids, just herself.
Right. And as we know, trying to change other people is not always easy, but changing ourselves can sometimes change the outcome in the relationship. I love that you've made that connection. You've talked about mindset and you've talked about the food, and it sounds like the combination works really well. The more it's combined, the better it works. Can you give us some examples of food? I mean, are you telling somebody they basically are stripped down to crunchy granola things that are only available in health food stores that you'd never eat, that taste terrible? Or how do you bring that education part into, or the nutrition education part into getting somebody to buy into that process?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a matter of a few things. First, it's basically I can get in there and I can help somebody if they have a connection between food and mood at all, or they know it. Maybe they've gone to one of my talks. Maybe they've learned about this somewhere else. There's some level of buy-in. If the buy-in isn't there, that's okay. There needs to be openness to explore more. And what I mean by that is I will work with someone, and if they want high level, we can go right in and I'll literally take them for a tour through Whole Foods or a health food store or a smaller store. And it's not so much what the store's like. It's actually me knowing what their health and emotional needs are, right? And which is, I do that in exploratory session first. And then, and also what the other family members' needs are, I go in and I will show them the specific foods that they would want to eat more of to bring into their family, into their pantry, into their regular diet. And they don't have to shift everything overnight. We start small. They learn, they're educated, and we start with 1 or 2 foods. Those are introduced. They eat those foods a certain number of times a week or a certain number of times for, the next 2 weeks. They get to see the effects of that food and what it does for them and or with their family. And then we do that as we continue going forward. Like the next 2 weeks, there's something else that's brought in next week's, and there's education and understanding about what this food does and how it can help them. And what happens is as somebody tries it, experiments with it, and brings it into their own life, they're seeing differences. Every time there's something happening that they're noticing in their moods. Sometimes it ends up impacting their weight. They get to lose weight when that wasn't what they went in for, but they went in for, I want to feel calmer. I don't want to yell so much. I want to have a better connection with my kids. Well, when our thoughts are clearer, we actually have a better connection to a broader range of emotions, and we tend to react less and respond more because there's a longer pause, because our nervous system is already more settled because of these other foods going in. So what I'm saying is there can be the health food store tour level, or somebody will just work with me and do the straight up coaching where we don't go into the health food store, start to revamp all their food. As I was saying, we do it slowly, but it's all about bringing more in and other foods start to slide off the plate. Over time, I'm right there to show them and remind them and help them learn other ways to work with these foods so that they taste really good. And if they don't like the taste of those foods, guess what? We just turn our attention to other foods that are going to help to settle their nervous system, help them to feel calmer, help them to connect more deeply. There are literally thousands of foods that I help them understand if they want. And so if 50 of them don't work, who cares?
Right.
I always want to make sure that they like the way the food tastes, because especially if they want to stop eating certain foods because they've learned now that those foods are exacerbating their sense of anxiety and their nervous system is like on overload when they eat those foods. Now that they learn that, they want to shift to something else. So what did that food taste like? What were the characteristics of that food? Because I want to bring that type of food into you in a way that it works better for your system, but you still really love and get the energy and the essence and the characteristics of that food. Because it's never just the taste of the food. It tends to bring us other comforting qualities that we seek out, if that makes sense.
Totally. I'm curious in terms of, is it fair to ask, are there just some like 3 superfoods or 3 things that you wish if everybody would do, it would just be a great starting point and maybe they wouldn't even need to call you, or just to sort of see some impact? What would you say is a great place for people to start that's easy and doable or moderately easy and doable?
Yeah. So some basic foods that many people like, not all, of course, but bananas are really easy food for most people, if you like bananas, to bring into your diet more. And honestly, it's been found that if you eat 3 or more bananas a day, and that sounds crazy, so I don't recommend you have to do that, but if you had 3 or more a day, it's been known to help people with PTSD decrease the symptoms and the nervous system overload feelings that they have, right? So that means for us, if you can have at least 1 a day, if not more, and the way you have more is through a smoothie, honestly. Like that's how I do it.
Right.
If you make a smoothie in the morning, afternoon, evening, it does not matter when. But if you bring it in regularly and even freeze the bananas because they're creamy and sweet. And if you put that in a blender with other fruit that you like, and then you add some sort of liquid base, it could be water, it could be apple juice, it could be almond milk, it could be, you add that, you are now getting into your system something that has phytochemicals that's going to actually start to help you settle your nervous system and be in the space of less anxiety. So that would be one food.
Great.
And honestly, I talk about this one too. This one floors some people, but white potatoes. White potatoes are absolutely excellent for you.
You have shocked me. I'm a sweet potato girl. I think sweet potatoes are so much better and I feel better on them. So say more about the white potatoes.
Okay, well, I will say sweet potatoes right in there too, but I
Okay.
like to go to the one that's a little more shocking.
Okay.
Sweet potatoes in general, they grow in the earth, Nancy. So they take on the energy of grounding. So first, when you consume them, if you consume enough of them regularly, right? If we
Right.
one potato, we might feel good that night, but the next day it might have worn off, right? So if we have them more often, what they do is we take on that grounding energy ourselves. We start to feel more settled and solid. And so in addition to that, they basically are antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. So they actually help to clear out some of the organisms within us that can create some internal chaos that also impacts us emotionally, because it's become known that your gut is your second brain.
Right.
So when we settle things in our gut a little more, we also start to be able to think more clearly. And I think about families a lot, right? Like, this is what I do, and it impacts every aspect of your life. But when it comes to interacting, if we allow our bodies to be able to settle more, we're going to be less reactive. We're going to be able to respond calmer. And if we don't, we can rein ourselves in more quickly, because it's like, oh, I see what I just said. Okay, wait. What can I do here? Right? Because we're not always going to be calm. It's just not going to be. But we can take the edge off of our anxiety and our stress and our worry much more so when we have certain foods like these going in. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going out for the potatoes and the bananas. My husband's going to be, I think he's going to be very excited. Andrea, I'm going to maybe put you on the spot, but I've heard you use words like anxiety, nervous system, reacting, grounding. These are things that in our day and age, a lot of kids actually know these words, right? They'll say, I'm anxious. They'll say, it is and has been the trend of go see a doctor, get a diagnosis, take a pill for this, or this will control your anxiety. I love this holistic approach that you're sharing. Does this complement and supplement people who may be on medication? Is this that you find some people actually can approach this way if they embrace it fully? It is instead of medication. I know that might be a third rail for many people, and some people are totally not medicine, and some people are totally like, there's no way my kid's going to eat healthy, right? Like, what does that look like in your world?
Yeah. So basically, if somebody's on medication, I would never, ever, ever tell them to go off. That's between them and their doctor. The two of them know more about what's going on there. And so I say remain. But you can always add in other approaches like this to see what else you can do. Because for me, I have this understanding that and recognition that it takes a village. There's never just one way that is going to just make everything sparkling and perfect in your life. There are always different people and different approaches that will bring you to a place that feels that much better, right? And your kids. So I say, yes, stay on your meds. There are some people who are going to find that they're going to be able to wean off of them, and that's terrific. Those are usually going to be the people who really go all in on something like this. But even if you don't go all in, you will feel some level of difference, and then it's up to you again and your doctor to decide. And then there's people who won't even need to go to meds because they're able to take enough of the edge off that they didn't have to get to the level of going to the doctor to ask for meds, right? So there's going to be different camps.
Exactly. I love that preventative approach as well.
Yeah.
You said it takes a village. I'm going to segue as best I can to we're on the Haven Hubcast, which means you are a Haven fan and member. How, speaking of a village, like we love the collectiveness of Haven. How is Haven supporting you and your business, or how are you supporting, what's going on at Haven? I always love to hear what people's interactions are.
No, that's great. I love sharing too, because for me, Haven is a place of, I love it because I'm meeting lots of like-minded people, specifically women as well. So that feels good. So for me, it's about connecting with other people I resonate with, other entrepreneurs that are on this journey with me that I can also relate to, and we can support each other. And it's relationship building, not just because it feels good and can support us with our businesses, but because it feels good to have people that I can sincerely call friends. And because they're friends, you get into the space of, I know for me, and I think most of us women will do whatever we need to do to help that other woman or that situation. whether it's personal or whether it has to do with their business. If you like them and you respect them and you know their business and you do likewise for their business, they need a graphic designer, you're going to rack your brain. Oh, who could I help them? Is there someone I could, oh yeah, I have a great person. Or they're in the space of something's happening with their business. Well, let me hear you. I'd love to be able to see if I can help you with that. There's always some way we can be there for one another. So for me, that's what it looks like and what I love about it. Yeah.
I love that, being there for people. So related to that, I'm going to zigzag back and say, for somebody who wants to know more about your work, Andrea, or connect with you, what's the best way for them to find you or connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Instagram, which is Andrea. It's at Andrea Chapman Anderson.
Awesome. We'll put the links in.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then there's also my website, which is another great place. And when I have certain events happening, they'll be posted there. Those are my two main spots right now. And yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Well, this has been a wonderful treat and kind of enlightenment of what's going on in the world and understanding more about conscious parenting. Thank you for sharing your time with us. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. It's been great to be here. I appreciate it.
And that is another episode of the Haven Hubcast. If you like what you hear, please consider giving a review, sharing this episode, or making sure you're a subscriber.
Thanks for listening to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders and owners are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Haven is a co-working space and virtual community located in the heart of Fairfield County, Connecticut. Haven is a hub for business owners and professionals to connect, create, and get stuff done. Find out more about the Haven community online at haven.com. That's HAYVN.com. Haven Hubcast is produced by Sound Advice Strategies.